Now, one of the federal budget's most controversial measures is a plan to force unemployed people under the age of 30 to wait for up to 6 months for welfare if they're not in accredited training. The government is assuming its so-called Earn or Learn initiative will result in more applications for student support.
But welfare groups are worried that more people will be forced into poverty. Serena Wilson from the Department of Social Services told a Senate estimates hearing that the government is budgeting for an increase in emergency relief.
And the purpose of that funding is to provide assistance to people who need assistance with, food, utility bills, those sorts of things. So it's about essential needs. And we've estimated that around 550,000 job seekers would access that assistance.
550,000.
Over 4 years.
Sorry, over 4 years.
Over 4 years.
Well, Green Senator Rachel Siewert was in that estimates hearing and she joins us now from Canberra. Rachel, many thanks for your time this morning. Were you surprised when those figures came up during discussions?
Well, quite frankly, no. If the government is condemning these people to live on nothing, they obviously need some form of support. They're going to be living in extreme hardship. They're going to be faced with extreme financial hardship and they will have no means of support. So yes, the government needs to provide some emergency relief.
$229 million, though, provided seems to be a very big bucket of money. That's at least a good thing that the government is providing for that transition.
Well, when you look at, you're talking about over 500,000 people here, and you're talking about them not having any money at all. So what do they expect people to live on? People are going to be in crisis. They are going to fall out of housing. They are going to be homeless, and they acknowledged that in estimates last night. This is going to have a devastating impact on a generation of young people.
Were they able to give us any more insights into the kind of people that are going to be affected and I guess whether they do have that kind of family support around them?
Well, no. When I was asking, in fact, the day before in another estimates committee about the number of people that live at home and the number of people that don't, they weren't able to provide those figures. So they don't really have a good handle on that. There's a number of exemptions, but basically if you are under 30 and you aren't employed, you will be progressively, because they're phasing this in, subject to this very harsh regime.
And explain to us how that 550,000, she was saying, over 4 years. So is it that progressive rolling out of the policy, or is it just different people will be affected every year?
Well, different people. There'll be some people that will, if they can't find work, will have 6 months with no support and then 6 months of work for the dole. If you can't find work, you will then be subject to 6 months without payment again. I must say here too that if you find part-time work, you don't then go on to Newstart and get some top-up, or because if you're normally on Newstart and you get part-time work, you can then be subject to taper rate, so you get a bit top-up. But these people aren't even going to have that. So there'll be no reward for even when you can manage to find part-time work. And we know from the figures that we get from ABS that more and more people are only being able to find casual or part-time work. So you're perpetuating a cycle here of entrenched poverty and entrenched disadvantaged, while the government, because the government is trying to save some money, but they're not going to pursue, funding from Gina Rinehart or Andrew Forrest through, for example, taking away the subsidy for their excessive fuel use. So really here we're making the young people of this nation suffer from these policies. And
in some cases what you're talking about then is some people going for almost a year without any kind of financial support.
Well, they get, yes, because, if they do 6 months, they then go into work for the dole. But if there's certain things happen, it can go up, we were told last night, it can go up to 11 months without any income support.
You're getting the sense from your fellow senators that this is just going to firm their resolve to oppose these measures in the budget?
Certainly from some, and I certainly hope the others look at how unfair and what significant impact this policy is going to have. What do they expect is going to happen to our community when there's so many young people that have no support and no hope of a future?
And of course, Clive Palmer and his other senators are going to be key to that. Have you had discussions with him about this particular concern?
Not as yet, no. I'm hoping that he will be very carefully listening to estimates and reading the details of this cruel policy.
We thank you for your time.
Thank you.